Welcome, everyone, to another episode of the Camper Report. And it's been a joy and an honor to kind of get all these content creators from all these different teams and talk to them because there's a lot of things happening right now in the NFL. So today we've got a Panthers content creator from Four Man Rush podcast. It's a Panthers podcast. You can find that in the description. We also have, so obviously, Kountry Kev. You can find his Twitter in the description, but he's the host of Four Man Rush podcast. So welcome, everyone, to the show. How are you doing today, Kountry Kev? Excited to have you on and talk NFL and Panthers.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Definitely appreciate the invite. Looking forward. I can chat football, 24/7, 365. So definitely looking forward to chopping up with you and your fans and interact and having a good show with you.
Yes, for sure. Well, you obviously talk Panthers. So where do you, before we start off, when did you become a fan of the Panthers, and what inspired you to get into hosting podcasts and just different things like that?
Yeah, great question. So I first got into football really when I was about 8 or 9. And ironically enough, with your hat that you got on, my very first team was the San Francisco 49ers, because I remember it was the Super Bowl where the 49ers played the Bengals. And my dad was like, "Which team you going for?" And I said, "I'm going for that team." He said, "Oh, well, that's the 49ers. I was like, "Okay, cool." So the Niners were my team from about 88 till about 94. And then when the Carolinas were granted a football franchise, actually in 1993, but we didn't start playing until 1995, that's when I switched over my loyalty, since I was a lot older, obviously, being in high school at that time, to the Carolina Panthers. And been a Panther fan ever since. Actually a season ticket holder since 2011. Haven't missed a home game since. Yep. But what made me get into doing podcasts was basically what started off as a chat with me and 3 other good friends who are also Panther fans. We were just talking it up about how, the national media, they don't really tell the story of the Panthers in a way that we feel like is ideally and fair. It was always, "Oh, there's a towel on Cam's head," or, we're always in somebody else's highlights when they're blowing us out or something like that. So, what started off as a chat just kind of grew into the idea of, hey, why not we do something and, tell the story, the way it needs to be told. So we came up with the name, the Four Man Rush. And in August of 2018, during preseason, we decided to, launch our accounts on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and off and running. And last I checked, we were the 6th nationally ranked podcast for Carolina Panthers.
Wow.
So we've came a long way from very humble beginnings.
That is quite interesting to think about. Real quick, and I know this is kind of, I probably should have asked this off stage, but I used to live in North Carolina myself. I used to live in a place called Wilkes County. I don't know where you live and if you know where it is, but it's kind of interesting because I for a good 10 years of my life lived in Panthers country. So that's just something
nice.
That I don't know if you know where that is, but
yeah, I know where Wilkes County is.
Okay, nice. Yeah, well, let's get right into some of the topics. We'll get to, obviously, the title of the show is Deandre Hopkins and where will he go, but there's other things that we need to discuss. And obviously this is something that every Panthers fan has got on their minds right now. And also really the whole NFL has got this on their minds. And as free agency is starting to wind, sorry, everyone, I got a phone call. As free agency is starting to wind down, we're now focusing our focus on the draft. And so my question to you is, obviously, I've seen a lot of Panthers mock drafts, like fans that I follow from the Panthers, and in every mock draft, they're taking CJ Stroud. So why is this, and who would you pick at number 1?
Yeah, sure. As someone that was a little resistant to doing mock drafts a few years ago, but suddenly started getting into it, I could definitely understand the growing obsession and popularity of doing mock drafts. Something about expressing your ideas, what you think would be the best players to add to your team. A lot of reason why you see a lot of Panther fans choosing CJ Stroud primarily is because he has the quote prototypical size, being
Right.
6'3", about 215, 220 pounds, quarterback. CJ Stroud is an absolutely great college quarterback prospect. I know a lot of people try to knock quarterbacks that come from Ohio State because they seem to
Yeah.
think they don't transition well to the NFL. They think it's just a product of the offense ran by Ryan Day. When you think about Justin Fields and RIP Dwayne Haskins, other quarterbacks
Yeah.
that put up great numbers in college, but it quite didn't translate over to the NFL. I definitely think that CJ Stroud has the mold to break that so-called curse of Ohio State quarterbacks. But yeah, I really, when talking with Panther Twitter and Panther Facebook on a regular, it's really a size thing why they're going with CJ Stroud. Because here's the thing. Personally, what you asked me, I think Bryce Young should be who we select. But because Bryce Young is 5'10", 204 pounds, it's kind of believed that he's too small to play that position in the NFL. I get it, but uh, when you put on and watch the film, I mean, my God, he's easily the best quarterback prospect
Yeah.
in not only this year's draft class, but probably the last few draft classes. When you look at his resume, his body of work. Now, if he was the same, like if he was 6'3", 6'4", 225, they would consider him generational talent.
Yeah.
But because of so many people are hung up on the analytics of size and weight and things like that, that's you have more people talking about his size more so than his play as reasons why he shouldn't be picked by why Panther fans are not choosing him. You rarely hear someone say a lot of negative things about his game per se. It's just this fear that, he's going to get hit and he's going to get injured because he's small. But my God, if you look back at Carolina Panther history, we had our last franchise quarterback was a physical specimen, and Cam Newton, 6'6", 250 pounds. And, he took a beating in the pocket. So I just really think size is really irrelevant from that aspect. So I just think that CJ Stroud being 6'3" and put on a great throwing display at the combine is why the fans are choosing him. But the 2 years of film at Alabama by Bryce Young, it easily stands out, and I think that he's also faced better defense, better competitions as well. Bryce Young has.
Yeah, I tend to agree with. I mean, you look one of his worst games of the 2022 season versus LSU. I don't know if you've seen that. He was still throwing dimes. There was a play where I don't know exactly when it was, and I don't really have the note of it right now, but I know one of the plays, he rolls out of the pocket, senses the pressure, rolls out of the pocket, and throws it 30 yards downfield for a perfect dime, off platform, everything. So, like you said, physical traits really key with Bryce Young. Now, the thing that I like, Bryce Young, you look at the numbers, he has some of the best over the middle accuracy in all of college football. And yes, it's college football, but he's playing with the biggest players in college football, and he's playing with the closest to NFL. Like, he's playing in a conference which is the closest to the NFL. And I know, like, a lot of people want to say Kyler Murray, but it's like Kyler Murray played at Oklahoma, and that school is playing Texas and Kansas and just guys that aren't ready for the NFL yet, defenders that aren't ready for the NFL yet. So I tend to agree with that. And it's like, there's nothing. He was perfectly accurate over the middle. He got the ball out fast in college, and he was decisive, and he had an arm as well. And so I just think that I think you're better to roll the dice with Bryce Young than to roll the dice with somebody that like CJ Stroud, which I like as well. But you go back, except from that Georgia game was impressive. But the Michigan game, I mean, he had 2 picks in that game. They were getting pressure on him. He was missing throws high. So I don't know. I think the Georgia game is really a game that a lot of fans like to point to when they're talking about CJ Stroud. But at the same time, there were a lot of other games that he did fail. I mean, he got exposed by Michigan. So I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, the truth be told, I mean, there's flaws with all the top quarterbacks. I mean,
Right.
like one of the things that we discovered checking the advanced metrics and stats, it was a stat put out that we stumbled across early in the 4-man rush where of all the top 4 quarterbacks, Bryce Young, with his pocket awareness, actually creates the most quarterback pressure.
Right.
Which means by him constantly always holding on to the ball a bit long, a lot of the pressure that he did get was more so created by him versus, quote, the blocking scheme didn't break down. And you could contribute that to several different things. I think this past year was probably his least talented as far as weapons at Alabama that he's ever had. So he had to do more with less, but still put up gaudy numbers. I mean, 328 yards, 32 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. I'll take that all day.
Yeah.
Yeah, if he did that with lesser talent, compared to his Heisman year, the year before, where he had 4,800 yards, 47 touchdowns, and only 7 interceptions. Hey, the guy does work, but you really have to almost nitpick to pick out flaws with Bryce Young. But like I said, at NFL level, things are going to be a lot faster. The coverages are more complex. There's going to be a learning curve. He will hit some spots where he's going to have adversity that he's going to overcome. He's going to get picked off in practice. He's going to get picked off in games. It happens to every single quarterback. So, so it just comes with it. Versus CJ Stroud, when we broke down the film with him, like you said, if he played a lot of games like he did the game at Georgia, then it would be easier to say he was the better quarterback overall. But again, I don't want to say that game is an outlier. I just think it shows what's capable of if he forces the issue. But I definitely feel like that certain things in this game, like whenever he rolls out to the left or the right, whenever he has to reset his feet to throw, he's off. He's off balance. I feel like he also throws a lot with his upper body instead of his lower body on his torque as well.
That was kind of the knock on Justin Fields, though. I think coming out of college as well. I think, but also like people like to go. Sorry to cut you off because, but I think people like to go to the combine as one of his biggest performances. I mean, I think the combine is kind of. I don't know how much I have faith on it because they're not really under pressure. There are a few things that arm talent. CJ Stroud is definitely there, but there are a few things that the combine doesn't show, and that's why I don't really put too much faith into it. But sorry to cut you off.
Oh no, you're fine. You're fine. Yeah. So like I said, it's points that all the top quarterback prospects, Young, Stroud, Richardson, Levis, they're definitely going to need some NFL coaching, some fine tuning and adjusting. And I just feel like that the staff that the Carolina Panthers have assembled under newly hired coach Frank Wright, when you look at their resumes, is clearly the best coaching staff we ever had in our franchise. And once the season starts, I think they'll show that they're one of the top coaching staffs in the league.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah, I think if there's anybody that can do it, I think it is going to be Frank Reich. I don't completely fault him for what happened with Carson Wentz in Philly. I don't completely fault him for the Indianapolis situation. I think that situation, I'm not really completely sure that it was him calling for all the veteran quarterbacks. It might have been Irsay who said, hey, you have to go and get these guys. We need to win now. So I'm not completely sure I fault him for all of those things. And take him for what he is. He's a very good offensive coach when he's had the ability to focus on the offense. And if you're Bryce Young, yeah, you're going to have some hiccups, like you said, but what a better way to learn than the Panthers, who have a perfect situation because they still have a second round in this year's draft. They have a first round next year, I think. So what a perfect way to learn under a team that doesn't have to win now, but a team that also could win now because the division is so weak. So.
Yeah, I mean, the NFC South is definitely wide open. Pretty much, I think it's going to this year, if we nail our quarterback pick and everything, I think it's going to come down between Carolina and Atlanta this year because, the Saints and the Bucks are, pretty much going to be victims of salary cap hell, per se. As you notice during free agency, both Carolina and Atlanta basically plucked the entire defensive line, of the Saints.
Yeah.
And I think Marcus Davenport, the last one, I think Minnesota got him on a 1-year deal. So, and nobody's losing sleep over Derek Carr. So, and then I think I saw where Baker Mayfield went to Tampa too. So, again, it's going to be growing pains, but like I said, why not us? Why not now? Let's get this quarterback. Let's get this quarterback situation finally stabilized. Let's get everybody coached up. Get the right players surrounding, which I think we're doing so far in free agency, and let's put the grind in and build this chemistry, and let's get it.
Yes, for sure. Well, to kind of transition, this is another thing, and I think my thoughts on this. I mean, do you think Carolina would trade down from the pick number 1? And what is your draft strategy for this year? My thoughts on this are, you could still realistically at number 4, let's say you traded down to Indianapolis's pick, you realistically could get, let's say CJ Stroud, Bryce Young, maybe they're off the board by that pick or whatever, but you could realistically get the third best quarterback, maybe in Anthony Richardson. So what are your thoughts maybe on this?
I think it's a tricky situation. I mean, the only team that I would want the Panthers consider trading with would be Houston. But then, like our general manager just said in the press conference on Monday, it has to pretty much be a deal that we flat out can't refuse to trade that pick, because keep in mind, the general manager for the Arizona Cardinals also stated that they were willing to move as well. So if that's the case, let's just say, using your example, if we traded with the Colts and got to number 4 and got their number 1, and let's say we got a great deal package wise, we realistically could be left with choosing whatever quarterback is left remaining. Because if someone also trades with Arizona and for a quarterback, so we could be looking at quarterbacks going 1, 2, 3, 4 in that realm. And if it's for me, there's a substantial drop off from Bryce Young and CJ Stroud to Anthony Richardson and Will Levis. Now, from an upside point of view, I think that if you get Anthony Richardson and Will Levis mechanics and footwork straightened out on those guys, I definitely think that they have a higher ceiling and could be better quarterbacks than Bryce Young and CJ Stroud. But are you in a position where you had the patience to wait? Can you sit them a year so that they can work with a quarterback guru and get drilled on their footwork daily, how to throw off the correct feet when the pocket is collapsing, and because when you look at the film on Levis and Richardson, you see the greatness, but you see so many quote easy layups that they miss point blank. Mm-hmm. And if it's 3rd and 5 and you miss a wide open wide receiver, you got to punt, like that would absolutely suck. On a 5-yard hitch or something like that. You know what I'm saying? But you air mail it 60 yards or whatever. So, um, yeah, just me personally, if there was a trade, I wouldn't go anything below 2. The second pick with Houston.
Okay.
Me personally.
So I have a name to throw out there, and obviously for any quarterback that you want a receiver, and I know we'll get into this a little bit later, Adam Thielen, whatever, but we're talking about draft strategy here. What does Josh Downs, have you looked at him, University of North Carolina? If you could get him, I think, I can't remember exactly. I think it's what, you guys pick at pick 59, is it? Second round?
It's 39.
39. Sorry, 39, not 59.
Mm-hmm.
39. My bad. But would you consider getting him, because he's right now projected around there, and obviously you added Adam Thielen, but I mean, add another weapon like that who is a borderline first round pick if he drops to you guys.
To be honest with you, I'm a North Carolina fan. I'm a Tar Heels fan. And I'm definitely a fan of Josh Downs. I think that he would be a good addition, but I do think that there are, depending on what receivers are left, that could possibly be better, like Hyatt out of Tennessee.
Right. Yeah, he was good. Yeah.
Yeah, he definitely would be like a speed, that deep burner speed threat that we're actually looking for. Again, our general manager mentioned this in his free agency presser. Our general manager being Scott Fitterer. He definitely mentioned that whether it's through free agency or through the draft, that we're looking to get that deep vertical speed. I just think that although this wide receiver class overall is not as deep and talented as it has been in the past couple of years, I still think it is a very good class to where you can get quality receiver play on day 1, 2, and 3.
Okay.
Another wide receiver that I wouldn't mind seeing for the Panthers would be he go by Tank Dale. His real name is Nathaniel Dale.
I've heard of him. Yeah.
He actually got the seal of approval from Panther legend Steve Smith Sr., who does a great podcast called Cut to It. Definitely check that out if you get a chance. Smitty doesn't bite his tongue; he doesn't hold back. It's still the same. But yeah, it's there's definitely some wide receiver options that will that the Panthers could definitely take advantage of in this draft.
For sure. But yeah, so let's move off of maybe Panthers for a little while.
Sure.
Although it is an interesting topic. Let's move back a little bit to free agency now that it's starting to wear down. Calm down a little bit. But what would be one winner and loser in this year's free agency for you? I'll start with this one. I think the Lions were a massive winner in this one. They got Emmanuel Mosley. They got CJ Gardner-Johnson for a deal that I think was complete, like absolutely crazy. I think the 49ers should have easily tried to, they could have afforded him at that price. So I think it was 1 year, $8 million. So they kind of plugged up their secondary for right now. They could still go and get one with the number 6 pick, although I think they're probably going to trade down, maybe compensate some more picks. Because if you're if you're the Lions looking to get a cornerback in the first round, I think the cornerbacks they're not going to go as high. So I think you could trade down to pick 10. Or I know that the Falcons would be interested in trading up to their pick to get ahead of the Raiders so they can get their quarterback of choice in case the Raiders gets a quarterback. So you could trade down to pick 8, maybe compensate a lower round pick, and then maybe pick 8 or 9 and get the guy that I've been craving over, which is Witherspoon from Illinois. So that's really what I think they could do. But that's a clear winner for me.
Okay, so you say you're going with Detroit?
Detroit for sure, yeah.
Okay. Well, for me, and it's going to be bitter saying this, I have to go with my division rival, Atlanta Falcons.
Yeah,
Um,
that was good too.
they definitely was in a position salary cap wise. I think they had the second most money to spend salary cap wise heading into this off season, and you know they pretty much hit the nail on the head. With their signings. I mean, first of all, they re-signed a couple of their own players like Caleb McGarry.
Yeah,
They um, they had re-signed him. I think he got like what 5 years, $105 million, something
that's
like that.
yeah.
You know,
Let me. Yeah, I think it was 4 years, and I believe you're. I think it was close to 80 million. Yeah, like you said. I'm pretty sure.
no, I'm looking at it right here. 5 years, $105 million.
Oh. Okay, never mind. Okay.
Yeah, yeah. And then they went out and they got somebody I was kind of eyeing on, safety Jesse Bates III from Cincinnati, who played ball here in the Carolinas at Wake Forest University. Um, we he definitely they scooped him up. We actually got his other safety partner, Von Bell, here in Carolina. So both safeties for the Cincinnati Bengals got picked up by NFC South rivals. And also Von Bell actually started off with the Saints. So he's actually coming back to the NFC South.
Yeah.
They also got David Onyemata, the defensive tackle from the Saints. He had about 8 sacks. Um, they added a former Panther at quarterback and Taylor Heineke to come in and to compete and back up with Desmond Ridder, which they have went out and said that Desmond Ridder will be the starting quarterback. But I definitely think Taylor Heineke will definitely push him and definitely be a good option as a backup. They picked up Tay Davis at linebacker. So, and they also last night, I think they picked up a cornerback, former first round pick Mike Hughes. So
Oh,
the
yep.
Falcons have, the Falcons have really done their job. Their GM, I think his name Fontenette. Um, if I'm messing up, forgive me. But the GM for the Falcons has really been spending that money wisely and helping really build up that team in areas they needed, especially defensively. So that would be who I would think would be my free agency winner right now.
Do you think the Falcons maybe try to trade up to number 3 to get a quarterback if the Cardinals are willing to trade down to 8? I mean, I think both Raiders and Cardinals might be kind of in the running for trading up to number 3, because now if you're the Falcons, you could have Taylor Heineke for one more year, but I think your team is ready to kind of draft a quarterback and then develop him with a great, obviously, like you said, great quarterback, Taylor Heineke. So I think that would be an option for them. I mean, it's leaving the door open for sure.
I think that by saying Desmond Ridder is going to be your starting quarterback, I think that would create a tense situation if they if they trade up and got a quarterback. Again, you never say never. It's not like it hasn't happened before. The Falcons' biggest need has been building up their defense, particularly pass rush. They were dead last in sacks. I think as a team, they only had like 18 sacks last year. So they're definitely looking to market to get it. When I speak with Falcon fans, like in certain groups and friendships, they're looking to either get a defensive end to complement Grady Jarrett on the inside, or they're looking at possibly a cornerback as well. The one out of Oregon, Gonzalez, is someone that I think, if you paired him with AJ Terrell, that definitely would be a young, dynamic cornerback duo that would help out any defense. You have two potential lockdown corners added in with the Jesse Bates, and all of a sudden, the Falcons, would have a serious secondary that definitely would cause problems.
For sure. I think a loser to me is probably the Bengals. They have a low pick, and so they can't really get one of the top talented safeties. They lost both of their starting safeties. So that's tough as well. And then obviously you have the whole T. Higgins thing. They haven't traded him yet, but you're going to have to make a decision on what you want to do with him as well. So that's kind of a situation where their offensive line, I think that would be probably who I would pick in the first. Like, I would pick an offensive lineman in the first round, really bolster that offensive line. But maybe you get the guy Darnell Wright out of Tennessee. He's really good at that first round pick that the Bengals have. But other than that, it's like, I think safety, you lost. I know you have Daxton Hill maybe filling in for Jesse Bates, but that other, I think it's weak side safety or no, strong safety position is also very wide open for the Bengals. So,
yeah. As for me, as far as losers in free agency so far, I would have to go to the NFC North. I'm thinking kind of a tie between the Green Bay Packers and the Minnesota Vikings. For one, the reason why I say the Packers, this whole melodrama with Aaron Rodgers and the trade me to the Jets. Oh, no, you're holding it up. No, you're holding it up. No, you're holding it up. Has prevented them from really being an active participant. They've already lost one of their receivers, Lazard, to the Jets.
Yeah.
And then, they haven't really been able to really sign any key players. And then same thing with the Vikings, they're in salary cap hell. So they didn't really have a lot of money to be active participants either. Like I said, they was only able to offer Marcus Davenport of the Saints a 1-year deal to join them. So those will be my, so far, the free agency losers for me, simply for the fact that their hands are tied as far as making moves for different reasons.
Interesting. Well, everyone, we could spend all day on this topic, but we have to move on. So, Amin the Dream, real quick. Sorry, guys, if I haven't been getting your comments. But who are your guys' winners and losers? Drop it in the comments, and I'll get to them as fast as I can. But Amin the Dream, go check him out. He's a great 49ers content creator. Says, "What's up, Ben and Kev?" Grandizer says, "Keep pounding all day, every day, and twice as hard on game day," for sure. And then, hey, Ben and Kountry Kev, just wanted to say hi and show support with the like. Thank you, Grandizer. He is a loyal supporter of the channel, so thank you. Moderating for right now, Rashad and Dave of Panther Nation Podcast. We were just talking about them actually backstage. Right. He's actually the first guy, Grandizer 12, to actually get me onto Panthers Nation Podcast. So thank you for that. Go check them out as well. So, yeah, we were talking about the Aaron Rodgers situation. Guys, get in the chat if you want to comment on this situation, because it's definitely dragging out longer than I thought it would. My question to you, who has more leverage in the Aaron Rodgers situation, Packers or Jets? I think it's interesting, and this drama has basically gone on for 2 years with Aaron Rodgers, and it almost doesn't seem to be stopping soon. So what are your thoughts?
Yeah, my thoughts is I just really think that Aaron Rodgers has this entitled diva attitude. Yeah, I get it, 4-time MVP, still one of the top 5 quarterbacks in this league, even at the age of 39. But my own personal assessment, you was talking about how it's been the last couple of years. It seems that he diverts the attention away from focusing on how poorly he played in the last game and focuses on whether he's going to return or not. That just seems to be a deflection method, my own personal belief, because, last year at home against the 49ers in the playoffs, you only scored 10 points at home.
Yeah.
After, putting in a MVP season. And with the game on the line to get you into the playoff at home again versus the Detroit Lions, again, you stunk it up. But How has he avoided letting that be a talking point? Oh, no, if I'm gonna come back retire. So now everybody's so fixated on the whole Aaron Rodgers thing, and I mean, he took it to another level with this whole, oh, I'm gonna go in seclusion in the darkness for 4 days and come out with my decision, and I knew it was a lie when he said, oh, this will be done way before. Afraid to say I don't want to tie things up, and look, hence, where they are again. My daughter, by the way, whose birthday was yesterday, she turned 20. Happy birthday, Princess. Her name is Jelani. She actually lives in California, actually, in Modesto.
Nice.
Yeah, so she's a Packers fan. She's pretty much done with Aaron Rodgers herself, and she loves Aaron Rodgers. So
Yeah.
Yeah, that whole situation with him is just, I just think he's milking it to divert attention from us really focusing on his play. So that's just my personal opinion.
I would say, I mean, I agree with you on that. I think the one thing, like, who has more leverage, in my opinion, would be the Jets. I think this is really what I think is happening between the talks of these two teams. I think the Packers are wanting a first-round pick, but the Jets are saying, this guy's only going to play for 2 more years, or even 1 more year. Why the hell would we want to give you guys a first round pick? And maybe the Jets are willing to give a first round pick. Maybe the Packers want multiple first round picks. So that's really what I think is happening. And in my opinion, I had this with a Jets fan about a week and a half ago, and I said, the Jets are really just looking for, let's say they give up 2 first round picks. They want Aaron Rodgers to at least play 2 more years if they're going to give up that type of draft capital. So, and really in the Jets case, they could make the argument of, if you won't give us Aaron Rodgers, then we could just go and try to make a run at Lamar Jackson or run it back with Zach Wilson. So I think if you're the Jets, you would make it smart. You don't want to seem too desperate for Aaron Rodgers. And I think right now they're kind of seeming a little too desperate, and the Packers are trying to milk it, but the Jets don't want to give up the multiple first-round picks that the Packers want to, because, hey, I mean, he's not going to play that many more years. Why would you give up 2 first-round picks for a guy who might only play 1 more year? So
exactly, especially when he came out and said that he was 90% retiring before he made his decision to play.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And then the fact that the Jets have already told them, no, you're not getting our 13th pick. At best, a second, third-round pick that's met with conditions. Because let's not forget, Aaron Rodgers signed a 3-year, $150 million fully guaranteed contract last offseason and only played 1 year of it. He's scheduled to make about $60 million this year. And whether he plays or not, it's a $40 million cap hit. Either way, that is a lot to absorb. Ask the Falcons, because they had to absorb $44 million for the trading of Matt Ryan to the Colts, and they had to eat that dead cap. So that's a lot of money. But you're right. I think the leverage holds to the Jets. Personally, I would have focused my attention on Lamar Jackson over Aaron Rodgers. Like you said, you just don't know now. How long Aaron Rodgers wants to play. He can easily, do the same thing to you guys next offseason if it's not successful. And, who has time for the drama? Really.
Yeah.
So Jet fans, I think y'all should somehow convince y'all front office to focus on Lamar Jackson, because I'll take a 24-year-old MVP still in his prime over a 39-year-old diva.
Yeah, for sure. I tend to agree with that. Bebop Jones says his last throw as a Packer was an interception. Very true. Very true. I'm kind of going through the same pain as your, I think you said your daughter is, because 49ers have now been to 2 straight NFC Championship games and lost both of them. And so I kind of feel what she was feeling a few years ago with the Packers making it to, I think, 3 straight, which, man, that's too many heartbroken seasons going to waste. So that's for sure something. But let's move on. Do you have anything else to say on this?
Nah. Like the Packers, I'm done with Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, exactly. I think it's time to, like you said, roll the dice with what's his name? Oh, I can't even. Jordan Love. Jordan Love.
Yep.
You know, whatever you get out of him, and then if you are super bad next season, you go for Caleb Williams maybe in the draft. I mean, that's something, or trade up to the number 1 pick like the Panthers did. So that's all I've got to say on that. But let's get to the topic of the show. I guess it maybe took a little too long for us to get to this, because this really is the topic of the day. And it came out really, I think Ian Rappaport came out with this on Twitter maybe earlier on, like early this morning, saying basically talks between teams and DeAndre Hopkins are ramping up. So, I mean, there's one thing that comes. I mean, what are your top 3 teams that could be most suitable for DeAndre Hopkins? One thing you've got to take into consideration is in 2023, Hopkins will earn a base salary of $19 million, and then his cap hit will be $30 million and a dead cap value of $22 million. So his contract would have to be restructured. No team can actually take that. But what are your top 3 teams?
Okay, well, obviously, I'll start off by saying us, the Carolina Panthers.
Yeah,
would be a team. Second, I would say would be the Houston Texans, especially since they just traded Brandon Cooks. Again, for the 5th time, he's been traded. he's never experienced free agency. He's always been traded. And believe it or not, I would say the Kansas City Chiefs.
Really? Okay. Wow. Put him with Patrick Mahomes. Wow. That would be scary, to say the least. I kind of tend to agree with that. I mean, my thing is like, Patriots are a big one, because I don't know if you would necessarily want to go there, but it's not really your choice. I don't think he has a no trade clause in his contract.
Right. He doesn't.
Patriots are a team that have needed receivers for years, and I think that's an obvious one. I think I'll throw out another name, Panthers. I think Sean Payton, you know, there's really none of the.
You mean Broncos?
Broncos? Yeah.
You said Sean Payton. Okay. You said Panthers.
My bad. Yeah. But I'd say probably Broncos. Sean Payton, you look, when he was with the Saints, he had Michael Thomas. He's never really had not a number 1 receiver while with the Saints. So I think Broncos have to be another one there as well. So obviously I'd have to agree with you on the Panthers there. And then obviously, what would, if he were to go with the Panthers, what would that deal look like?
See, that's one of the hangups, because it was reported that the Cardinals are looking for not only a 2nd round pick for him, but also a substantial player.
Okay.
Now that right there, I mean, don't get me wrong. I love DeAndre Hopkins. I think when healthy, he's easily a top 5 wide receiver. Probably the best hands since Larry Fitzgerald. I mean, catches everything. I think it was just last year, year before last, he went the whole season to have any drops. I mean, definitely, but the last couple of years he kind of been banged up a little bit. He's 30.
Yeah,
I feel like that's asking a lot with those terms. Not only that we got to rework this contract, but that you want not only a high pick, but you also want a player as well. I think that's asking a lot, because with that same 2nd round pick, like we were discussing earlier, we could go and get us a young talented wide receiver that can go get it, what I'm saying, at a much lower cost,
Yeah.
But if I was GM, I would offer a 3rd and a 6th with no player to the Cardinals, and definitely that contract would have to be reworked, because where it stands now, it's a base salary of 19 with a $30 million cap hit for him. That definitely, and he said that he's willing to rework his contract.
Yeah.
Which is huge. And for those that don't know, he went to school in the Carolinas at Clemson. So it would be a
Right.
homecoming of sorts if he could come back this way. So, as a Panther fan, if it happens under the right deal, I would be stoked because now you have a rookie quarterback coming to a team with, DeAndre Hopkins, Terrence Marshall Jr. We just picked up a tight end, Hayden Hurst. We have
That
a
was a
much
good
improved
pickup.
offensive line. We picked up Miles Sanders at running back. We bringing back a solid defense that's going to be stronger now that we're switching up to 3-4. It literally would be. That's why I say we could be in a position where, with the position at NFC South, where we could challenge for it if we were to nail this. So if it happens, that would definitely put a lot of things in our favor and definitely make us an attractive destination when we have much more salary cap in 2024.
Yes, for sure. I think the one thing that puts you guys maybe over the Broncos, I mean, I think that team, who really wants to play with Russell Wilson right now, and that whole situation there, and it's like, yeah, you're coming to a Panthers team who they're going to have a rookie quarterback, but me personally would rather work with a rookie quarterback than work with, organization that has a lot more pressure on it to perform. I mean, so I think if you're DeAndre Hopkins, yeah, you would go there. And then the Patriots is just like, how much work would DeAndre Hopkins actually get? Because, I mean, Mac Jones isn't necessarily a downfield thrower there, and they like to run the ball a lot. So, yeah, I mean, I think the Panthers would be the desired destination if you're DeAndre Hopkins, looking at the other teams that could get him as well. So,
yeah, and another thing that's a knock against the Patriots, who's going to be their offense coordinator? Because they essentially was offense coordinator by committee last year. I mean, you took you had a former defense coordinator, Matt Patricia, playing the role of offense coordinator. It was so many times that you would see Matt Jones visibly frustrated, with them. And I just think that the way it's presently constructed, that's just a toxic setup for any quarterbacks. I mean, wide receiver or a skill position player in their prime. I just think that's just that right there is just a cluster. You know what?
Yeah. One thing that I've always wondered, and I'm kind of wondering right now, is maybe the Chargers. Like, you maybe swap him and Keenan Allen, possibly. I mean, that's not the worst idea. Now, Keenan Allen is a lot older, so, well, not a lot older, but he is, I think, slightly older. So that would be another team. Maybe you give Justin Herbert a receiver, a really good receiver to throw to, and then maybe you send over Keenan Allen back. I don't know what you would have to move, what you would have to do to get that deal done, but Chargers would be a team as well. So,
yeah. Only thing about the Chargers though is like, are they just tight with their money? I mean, because they're willing to let Austin Eckler, who's requesting a trade, potentially, go. Now, obviously, he's still under contract. He's requesting a trade. I think he's in the last year, and when you look at his numbers, in the last 2 seasons, he has 38 total touchdowns. Rushing and receiving, dude gets into the end zone. So he definitely has, quote, earned it. But, the market for running backs, if you paid attention has been steadily declining. It's not because it's such the belief that, you can just draft a rookie running back, run him raggedy after 4 years when his contract is up and then just draft another one. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So unless you're a very unique elite talent, such as a Christian McCaffrey, such as a Saquon Barkley, such as a Nick Chubb, and I think Eckler's production should make him someone that should be more sought after. You definitely got to be unique to get a second contract as a running back these days.
Yeah, for sure. Do you think, real quick, I know we didn't have this in the topic list, but would the Panthers maybe get Austin Eckler? You're mentioning him. I think that would kind of be interesting to think about.
I kind of thought about that too, but again, once we picked up Miles Sanders,
Yeah, that's
kind of
true.
a similar style, and I think we got Miles Sanders who put up numbers of a top 10 back for relative
Yeah.
4 years, 25 million, only 13 million guaranteed over 4 years. Um, hey, he had over 1,000 yards, 11 touchdowns.
Pro Bowler. So
Yeah, but I'm definitely a fan of Eckler. If there was somehow to make the numbers fit, hey, great. I mean, geez, that really would be a dynamic backfield. Of Sanders and Eckler. I mean, a rookie quarterback
yeah,
would just be like, "Is this real?"
yeah.
Like, is
Basically,
this
just hand
like,
it off every play or check it down. So yeah.
right?
Yeah. So, but yeah, so that's obviously something interesting we could discuss. But we have to get to our last topics. We have to get you out of here. Brandon Cooks goes to the Cowboys. How much does this improve their team? I mean, they're a team that they were really leaning on Michael Gallup to be that number 2 receiver. And really his whole career, he's had injuries. So last year, that didn't change. That was the biggest downfall with them. I mean, they leaned a little too much on Tony Pollard, I think, down the stretch. And he eventually got injured, obviously, to my Niners. And then, so, I mean, their receivers were definitely a downfall. You've got CeeDee Lamb, and now you've got Brandon Cooks, who you said earlier has gotten traded so many times, and I don't even know why, because he's been a solid receiver his whole career and doesn't really get injured much. So, I mean, me personally, I think it improves their team tremendously because that's the thing that failed them last year.
Yeah, with Brandon Cooks, I think it's a solid pickup. As far as the impact, I'm not quite as optimistic as you because it just depends because that it depends on the player Dak Prescott. It's a lot of turnaround going on that Dallas offense. I mean, they just lost their top tight end Schultz,
Yeah.
who was a nice safety blanket. They cut long-time running back Ezekiel Elliott, who's only averaging
Then
3.9
again, he
yards
wasn't
per
doing
carry.
much at the end. Sorry to interrupt, but I mean, Ezekiel Elliott wasn't doing much at the end. Sorry, but
Oh yeah, true. Yeah, it's like once he held out for that big contract, it just like the production has just like steadily went down,
yeah,
which is why people are hesitant of paying, like I said, running back those, big paydays. One of the battles I had on Panther Twitter when he widows was what, man, was when Christian McCaffrey got extended. So many people, I'm
yeah,
like, he's more than just a running back. He's Mr. Do It All. And you saw that once he got traded to the 49ers, he was doing everything. I believe one game he ran one, threw one, and caught one. The hat trick.
yeah,
Him not making the Pro Bowl, I thought was a huge insult. I'm like, really?
yeah.
That was so mind numbing. But back to Brandon Cooks though, to stay on topic. I think it's a solid pickup. You definitely got someone opposite of CeeDee Lamb that can do some things, but I just don't see it being as big as if they would have kept Amari Cooper. I think that was a mistake on their part letting him go. Now, mind you, I get that he was owed $20 million, but it just I just don't see it having a get us to the next level type of impact as of yet. So I need to see what else they're going to do, like via the draft and free
Yeah.
agency, for it to really amount to something. Like you spot on about Gallup. I think Gallup is a talent, but again, he's constantly fighting injuries. So we just have to wait and see.
It's funny because it's like Brandon Cooks, he had Amari Cooper. It kind of is like they got Brandon Cooks, they got rid of Amari Cooper. It's almost like they admitted their mistake there. it doesn't make any sense with what they did with Amari Cooper years ago. And it's like them getting Brandon Cooks is basically them saying, hey, we made a mistake, but here's a lesser receiver that you can have, and hopefully he'll improve your team. I mean, that's totally true. The thing is like the wide receiver class is super underwhelming in this draft. Not super, but like, I don't know where the Cowboys stand. Like, I don't know if they would get a receiver at that pick. So maybe you wait. I don't know if they have a second round pick. I haven't looked into much of what they could do in the draft. I haven't looked into much of that, but you'd probably have to wait till the second round, get maybe a receiver in that round, and then hopefully hope for the best with that core. But yeah, I think Brandon Cooks is the type of player that you can put him underneath and he could be a check down option, because that's what they did a lot in Houston. So I think it's a dynamic receiver, but I definitely think that he's not like a top tier wide receiver one. So, but you have that in CD Lamb. So.
Yeah, and then another loss you're not considering, the loss of their offense coordinator, Kellen Moore, who is now over to the Chargers. I mean, I'm not sure who they've hired to replace him, but I think that's going to be a huge adjustment. So, what type of offensive scheme will they be running now with whoever their new offensive coordinator is?
Yeah, that's true. That's true. Well, we'll see. It's gonna be up to Mike McCarthy to figure this all out. I've never actually had a ton of trust in him, but yeah, that's the last of our topics. So thank you everyone for watching. This has been about an hour long. So we'll have to let Kountry Kev go, or Kevin, but guys, go check out his podcast, 4-Man Rush podcast. Link in the description is the YouTube link, and then you can follow Kountry Kev. Obviously, his handles are on the screen, or you know his links are all in the description. So go check him out over there. This has been a lot of fun. Thank you for coming on.
Sure. Again, thank you for inviting me. And if you want to do it again in the future, feel free to hit me up. I'll be more than happy to work with you. I actually am a truck driver, but so if you happen to catch me on the road, I can definitely make time for you.
Yeah, well, for sure. Everyone, this has been a lot of fun. Thank you for watching. We'll see you probably, well, I at least will, tomorrow to talk some 49ers draft. So we'll see you guys again soon, and have a good night.